What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, Wicked Part 2 is days away, and I thought it'd be a good idea if we just took a step back and we thought about where we were a year ago. Well, you, not me. You were probably somewhere in line, twiddling your thumbs as you thought about what you wanted to bring as a concession into what you were about to experience as this cinematic masterpiece, your childhood, your theatrical inspiration, your fantasy brought to life on the silver screen because of either Mr. Baum, Mr. Schwartz, Miss Menzel, Miss Chenoweth. And then the moment finally came and you thought to yourself, wow, they actually did it. And that was 2024 when we were all just little ones. And now look at us, a year older in 2025, and Wicked Part 2 is days away. So I thought it'd be a good idea to make this video and to really think about what Wicked for Good Part 2 needs to be in order to bring this home, in order to make Wicked, the cinematic experience, a complete success. What does it have to do to bring it home, to really pay homage to the novel, to the stage, and to most importantly, the fans, us? We deserve as much a satisfying ending to this beautiful work that has shaped millions across the world. We deserve the ending of a lifetime. So here's my 15 points for what Wicked for Good needs to be. And I probably already put this everywhere in the video, in the intro, and in the description. Guys, if you don't know what happens in part 2, if you haven't seen the whole show, I'm giving you your warning right now. Leave. Spoilers everywhere. Spoiler, 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 spoiler. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Number 1, start immediately with momentum. No slow re-entry. Act 2 starts with a time jump to where the show began, where Glinda is now the good. We're a little bit more in the future. We don't really know how far into the future, but Glinda is established as the good. The Munchkins trust her and everything, and that's where the show starts. However, if the trailer is any indicator, we see a little bit more of Glinda's journey to becoming the good. We see her getting her new bubble, we see the wand, we see her with Madame Morrible. Madame Morrible looks less than pleased, but we see that backstory. Now, if the movie does it right, my guess is that they're going to pepper those little flashbacks in. I wouldn't imagine they would start with the bang. However, Act 2 in the show didn't have to rely on you remembering everything from Act 1 because the intermission was only 15 to 20 minutes. This has been a year-long intermission, so the last thing you want to do is spend a lot of time reminding people how you got to where you got to. But it happens. I get it. It happened in Avengers Endgame. It happened in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. It happens when you have these two-parters that are split in half. You just really got to make sure that you reset the energy, but while at the same time not info dumping us with how Elphaba became isolated and the Wicked Witch of the West and how Glinda went this way. Now, if you want to show us how she became the good and where Elphaba's gotten to since then, that's perfectly fine, as long as you don't recreate part 1. Because we've already seen part 1. We know it. And yes, there are probably a handful of fans that are just now getting into Wicked who won't necessarily remember. But trust us, the diehard fans, we will remember. You don't have to worry about that. The way to start with a bang is to pick up with emotional urgency. Something's got to be happening. Something's got to grip us. You know, this should be feeling bigger, not smaller than part 1. Start with urgency, intention, and also signal the fact that there are many dark scenes that are about to happen. Far darker than part 1. Part 1 set everything up nicely and established the world and the foundation. Part 2 sets to destroy them. Because the plan all along was to get you used to and comfortable with Oz and Elphaba and the way things were, and then to change it so then it garners an emotional response from the audience. And if you're going to refamiliarize us with the land of Oz, or Glinda the Good, or Elphaba, or Madame Morrible, or Shiz, or any of these locations or themes, do it with visuals. The whole point of this going to a screen medium is so that people can be shown more rather than be told. The thing I like the most about this jumping to the silver screen is that I can see the close-up emotions more. I don't need to hear you more. I can do that just fine on Broadway. I want to see more. Number 2, deepen Elphaba's internal conflict, not just her villainous side. The musical gives us Elphaba's misunderstood journey, but the movie has time. That's the whole reason why we're doing this in 2 parts. They have the time, let's flesh out that arc. Part 2 needs to dig into her emotional consequences, her relationship with Fiyero and the conflict that happens within him as well. Her growing isolation, her relationship with Fiyero and the consequences that happen to him, but also the consequences that she feels for being responsible for what happens to him. Her guilt over what happens in Oz, her grief with losing Glinda, and how oppression twists her reputation. And that's been a bit of a through line for her entire story, but we really get to see it culminate here because she's never been oppressed like she is now. Yes, she was martyred, yes, she was made fun of, but she was never vilified on a scale like now. And the best ways to portray this that I've seen are the ways that the movie is already using, like close-up shots. We talked about the close, intimate shots of the actors, and we can see the emotion that we could never see on Broadway, especially me from the 80th row in the back of the Gershwin Theater. Quiet moments, the quiet moments. This is a musical, but I'm telling you, that is all the more reason to take advantage of silence. It's so palpable. It bites through the sound waves when there's silence, and it speaks volumes, especially when you've had 2 hours of nothing but dialogue and music. Flashbacks also work. That's what I'm assuming that scene in the trailer is, where Glinda tries out her bubble for the first time, or flashbacks to when Fiyero and Elphaba saved the lion cub, and that was the first time that they really had a genuine, intimate moment together. Pepper in some cinematic symbolism and some vocal performances that just blow everybody out of the water and reveal the true nature of the emotion and the intent and the themes, and boom, you've got it. We've been on a good path, but we need to maintain that momentum. Elphaba cannot become a caricature of herself. She has to maintain her humanity, and it needs to be present and in our faces at all times. Number 3, give Glinda a more developed political arc. In the musical, her rise to power is implied, but in the movie, again with time, we can see how she becomes Glinda the Good. And you might be thinking, why is that important? Well, it's important for the very same reasons that we want to see more of Elphaba's story, we want to see more of Fiyero's story, because Glinda is trapped. Aside from Fiyero, is probably the most trapped character of the second act, because Glinda is caught between her best friend and maintaining her political position and power. She is caught because she has this emotional conflict that she has to put on this facade, and she needs to be angry about the Wicked Witch and console the Munchkins, who are literally screaming for her death that the Wicked Witch is dead and she needs to be on her side. But if you saw that moment, if you caught that moment in the first part where she is on the verge of tears when she burns that effigy of the Wicked Witch of the West, the pain on her face, let that be carbon copied and transferred into part 2, because that is the performance we need from Ariana Grande. And if we could see how that was fleshed out to the point where she gets that trapped, she's a little trapped in part 1, but we need to see more. We need to see her moral conflict, her fears about what leadership requires, the sacrifices that will need to be made in the service of it. She also knows how terrible the people are that she's working for, but her lust for power supersedes that. But her love for Elphaba never goes away. And there is the source of your conflict. Look at Ariana Grande's eyes. Look at her body language whenever somebody mentions Elphaba or the Wicked Witch of the West or comes up with a lie about her. Really look at her performance. That will tell you everything you need to know. And if we can see more of that through an elongated process, and it only has to be a couple more scenes to show how she got from point A at Shiz to point B as Glinda the Good. Because the difference here is, instead of jumping out of a comic relief character, we see a slow rise into a tragic figure. And there's nothing better than that. Number 4, build towards no good deed with cinematic intensity. This number is the turning point of the story. It's Elphaba's breaking moment. To make it more cinematic, they have a few options. 1, show the chaos leading up to Fiyero's capture. 2, increase tension with cross-cutting. Elphaba, guards, Fiyero, kind of similar to what they did in Defying Gravity. 3. Visually symbolize her world collapsing. Maybe she's more on edge, maybe she's hyperventilating, maybe things start getting blurry or dizzy. Use some interesting Dutch angles, spin the camera around her, do something to make it feel more chaotic, like she is literally at her breaking point and the audience is tense and full of goosebumps just like she is. Or use lighting to show her descent. Greens and sickly colors and things starting to blur. You can let the orchestration swell bigger than the stage version. And if you've been listening to my movie versus musical series on Wicked, every song from the movie soundtrack has a fuller sound than the Broadway version. It could be the change in recording, but they also took time to flesh out that orchestration in more ways than the stage could even provide. Maybe it's because they have a small amount of space in the pit orchestra, or it's because they actually felt like they needed to fill in more. Or my final pitch for this point, keep the camera close to Elphaba. Keep it on her person. Keep it close up to her eyes. We need to see this breaking point. A hell of a lot more than we were shown in Din is key. If we haven't built up properly to her descent into chaos and madness, then we're never going to believe it. Case in point, I'll give you a free tip. Take Daenerys from Game of Thrones and don't do that. If one number must feel transcendent and transformative, it is this one. And people will say this all the time about writers and directors. You almost want to be sadist because you want your character arc to be fully fleshed out. Well, you can't do that until you've put your protagonist through the absolute ringer, which means torturing Fiyero more, making it look more gruesome, because we need to believe that Elphaba will break. We need to believe that she will use the Grimoire for no good deed ever again. And we know it's because she tries to save Fiyero, and nothing good she does ever gets rewarded like she wants. We need to see this be the last straw. This cannot be her first response to bad things happening. It has to be the final last resort. Number 5, conversely, make As Long As You're Mine an emotional anchor. This is a hidden gem. This is one of my favorite songs of the musical. This is hands down one of my favorite songs of the musical, not just of the second act, but of the entire musical, because it's got such a flowing ballad-like vibe. You hear the beat. It's so different from the rest of the songs, but it's an emotionally charged song, and you don't get too many in this final act, because you've got this one, For Good, Defying Gravity, and an argument could be made for Couldn't Be Happier. But this is important because it's meant to get us to invest in the relationship between Elphaba and Fiyero. If there's no investment, then there's no payoff that justifies no good deeds. So As Long As You're Mine is pretty much the sole kicker for getting us to believe in something like no good deed. Needless to say, the romance has to feel earned. So what should the movie do? The movie should expand physical and emotional intimacy, the dangers surrounding them, the stakes of losing each other, and to top it all off, the idea that this is their one true moment of safety and security, even so far as to say solace. Their comfort in grief becomes each other. And that's so much more poignant because when he's taken away, that solace that they've established, that we believe in as an audience to this movie, gets taken away. We feel betrayed. We feel chaotic. We agree with her descent into madness because that's what we feel in that moment too. I don't have the Grimoire, but I trust you guys will at least throw a piece of popcorn in protest or something. So long as this relationship deepens and it's believable, and then Fiyero's sacrifice will mean more. Number 6, give the supporting characters purposeful endings. Fans will be expecting satisfying character arcs for people like Fiyero, Bach, Nessa Rose, Madame Morrible, the Wizard. Now, that's not to say that they're all positive change arcs, because we know that's definitely not the case. I keep throwing Game of Thrones under the bus. It's not just burying your characters in rubble after not doing anything with their arc, or betraying their arc for that matter. And yes, I understand that they have IP that they need to follow, and that IP already establishes how these endings happen, but trust me, editing goes a long way. Cinematography goes a long way to completely changing the story, even if you are following the exact same story as the stage, as the novel. A lot can change it. So, with that in mind, close their stories cleanly. And it's especially powerful when you connect their fates to themes of power, oppression, moral ambiguity. Those can really put a satisfying end to those arcs. And really, while we're on the topic of supporting characters, they should be helping Elphaba's arc as well. We should be seeing how each supporting character shapes Elphaba's outcome and her overall arc and themes as well. No character should just disappear. Number 7. Integrate Dorothy thoughtfully. Now, most of you fans know that Dorothy only makes a brief appearance in the musical. However, from what we've seen and the rumors that are coming from the studio, it looks like not only Dorothy, but the Scarecrow, the Cowardly Lion, and the Tin Man are going to make a much larger presence than in the show. The caveat to that is you don't want to make this a recreation of The Wizard of Oz, because again, Dorothy, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, the Cowardly Lion, they were all the good protagonists. The more presence and minutes that you put on them becomes the antagonist again. And she's not. All Dorothy's purpose should be, as she's peppered in throughout this part 2, is that she should expand the unintended consequences of myth-making, like vilifying the Wicked Witch of the West with all of this false propaganda. Reflect on how history will misinterpret Elphaba, and can even go so far as shifting the generational perspective. If Dorothy overshadows Elphaba, it's over. She shouldn't overshadow her or the main story, but just elevate their themes. Number 8, use storytelling to show the corruption of Oz. Part 2 is a regime falling act. And we've seen this in the show through various ways that could easily be translated onto the silver screen, like darker costumes, more military present, Emerald City architecture shifting in tone, not being so glitzy and sparkly and glamoury, but donning this ugly military green kind of style. Propaganda everywhere with punishment and evil witches and speeches, wanted posters, evil monologues, all that kind of stuff. Oz needs to have a feeling of oppression. But what is the core root emotion of oppression? Fear. And it's on both sides. Fear is felt through the eyes of the oppressor, and fear is felt through the eyes of the oppressed. Because the oppressor is fearful of what he could lose if he doesn't oppress, so he oppresses and causes fear onto the oppressed. And if he creates a common enemy and gets everybody to fear her, we need to see that in Oz. And that is a good start to a regime falling. Number 9, make the witch hunters truly menacing. I laughed my ass off when I saw The Wizard of Oz and I saw them with the tall hats and they looked like the British guards and they're like, oh, wee, oh, oh, oh. And every time I watch that, I can't help but start singing, yo ho, a pirate's life for me, oh, oh. But you shouldn't even have any comedy coming from these guys in the movie. And the best way to do that is establish them as menacing, evil, aggressive, brutal figures. And how do you do that? Drum-heavy orchestration, so hire Hans Zimmer. Torches, war imagery, chanting that people are going to take a little more seriously. And we need to see fear and misinformation poisoning their brains, and we need to see them react in accordance with that. Because nothing is more terrifying than somebody willing to act out in fear, because people will act out in fear so much more than they will out of love or magnanimity. This can't be just another quirky ensemble moment. No. This has to feel like mob mentality. We need to feel like we're about to go kill the beast. We need to feel like everybody is rallying the troops because we are ready to go and take down this woman once and for all. And we need to be afraid as audience members because they are coming for Elphaba and we believe that they have the power to kill her. Number 10, build a tight, emotional final confrontation between Elphaba and Glinda. The last scene that they share before For Good must be raw, hurtful, heartful, and transformative. It should highlight their ideological differences, but also show their deep love for each other. It should also reveal how much they've changed each other. And also, it needs to be shown to the audience why this breakup shapes their individual futures. And the studio already knows just how important this song is to the entire story, because this song is the franchise. This song is a culmination of bittersweet moments of conflict, resolution, differences, indifferences, and now we're at the cusp of the final confrontation and the parting of ways. And these two characters that we love so dearly, they go in their each in individual ways, and this song solidifies it. So the song, being what it is, deserves the buildup of a lifetime. You don't need a lot of music before it. Just give me some good silence, some good close-up shots, and some heartfelt acting, and I will be crying through every tissue I could possibly be finding at the dollar store. Number 11, while we're on it, For Good must be absolutely perfect. This is the emotional climax of the entire Wicked saga, and to honor it, the movie must build tension before it even begins, maybe use subtle flashbacks or symbolic imagery like you saw with Defying Gravity. Elphaba saw her younger self as she was falling, and then that younger self became the broom. That's some powerful flashbacks right there, because we can see exactly how horribly she's been treated, and then looking in the reflection face to face with her younger self, we understand why this moment is so important to her and why she can rise to the occasion now because of all of those chips on her shoulder. Little flashbacks like that would really help here. And with those camera angles that we talked about, letting their emotions speak volumes is very, very important here. I cannot stress that enough. The close-up shots is really what I was looking forward to with this movie. Yes, the overall expansion of the land of Oz and Shiz and everything, but their faces, the close-up shots of their faces, and man, did they not disappoint yet. And lastly, for good measure, leave an extra beat or two after the final note for extra impact. Because if you go right into the next line or scene right after, wouldn't this be off-putting? I have been changed for good. Oh shit, Dorothy, when you get here? It's gotta feel like a goodbye, a final goodbye. And think back to the last time you had a real, heartfelt, genuine goodbye with somebody, and you don't know if you're going to see them again. You're reduced to that dog lack of object permanence mentality where you just look at somebody and you go, I don't know when I'm going to see you again, but man, am I going to cherish this moment. These two women shaped each other's destinies, and the goodbye should say that. Number 12, I think I'm just using any fingers right now because I'm not going to lift my toes up to count to 12. Spoiler alert! Elphaba survival must be executed with care. Now this twist is very delicate. Too obvious, and it ruins the surprise. Too subtle, and newcomers won't get it. The scene needs to be clear, but with gentle hints. Maybe a little rattling, maybe we see the hinges of a trapdoor somewhere. You know, maybe some hints at magic still existing. That might be a little bit too overt, but we'll see what they do. It needs to be in a respectful tone, not comedic like, whoa, well, all right then. There's that juicy emotional payoff with Fiyero after everything that he's been through, and they finally get to have their happy ending and literally walk off into the sunset. This is their renaissance, their chance at rebirth. We need to see a physical representation of that. On stage, we just see them walking out through the open doors, arm in arm, off to see whoever into the sunset. Here, we get to literally see them walk out somewhere. Maybe it's a literal sunset, not too close to the sun, you know, scarecrow fire, but somewhere beautiful, somewhere magnificent, somewhere probably open would be my hope. Maybe they ride off on horseback, but I would say use the space to show liberation. Use the space to show freedom, because if I'm seeing the open fields like I did in The Wizard and I, with Elphaba so elated that she will finally get to meet the wizard if she makes good, I felt the freedom that she felt when she was frolicking through the fields. Maybe go back to that. Maybe show her them riding past massive waterfalls out into the sun, because that would show a true renaissance. The chains are broken for everybody and they can just live and love. And if handled well, we will experience that cathartic release of tension, just as they do. Number 13, Glinda's coronation should be bittersweet, not triumphant. Now, we probably know that it's already going to be bittersweet because we know how conflicted she is. Maybe the Munchkins, maybe the rest of Oz don't know that, but we have the benefit of already knowing where she's come from and the burdens that she's dealing with deep down. The interesting part of this is that she's getting what she wanted. She wanted the throne, she wanted power, she wanted to be a witch. She is all of those things and she got the throne, but to get there, she has to do the unthinkable and turn on her best friend. The best friend that she just sent off into the skies with the cape and everything, tears in her eyes. That is the same friend that she now has to betray by assuming the very thing that she's pursued her entire life, power. We need to see this weight. We need to feel the pressure of her bubble machine almost falling out of the sky because of the crushing weight that she feels inside and the guilt that she feels. And from what we've seen so far from Ariana Grande's performance, I don't have any doubts about her ability to show that. But in doing so, that bittersweetness should breed some results, like becoming a compassionate leader, how she reshapes Oz for good, and maybe answer why she might honor Elphaba privately in her own life. That is one thing that film does a really good job with, is that we get to see intimate moments of characters that other characters don't see, and so that information is just for us. It's personal. It's for us and Glinda. When she is quietly grieving or lamenting, or she's angry at Elphaba in her own private quarters, we get to see that with her, and it should be powerful enough that it stays with the audience. Number 14, a perfectly balanced finale. The ending is a juggling balancing act. It's got to juggle 6 things: sadness, hope, myth, truth, closure, and continuation of the Oz legend. The final moments, rightfully so, define the entire 2-part series. And number 15, we need to leave the cinematic experience feeling a sense of this story changed both them and us. Part 2 should leave the audience feeling moved, changed, reflective, inspired, heartbroken, but ultimately uplifted. And thus the title For Good should land with full thematic resonance. Because this is for good, this is forever, we have been changed, and we have changed for the better. And I'd like to think after watching Wicked Part 2 that I too have changed for the better. And hopefully if it does its job right, the same could be said for you. This story has shaped who I am growing up. It's the extra boost of confidence in high school when you're sitting at your chorus room piano. It's a song you hear that girl sing for the 1,000th time as she's auditioning for Legally Blonde the musical. It's a little spicy duet that you subtly suggest to the future love of your life to sing the duet with for as long as you're mine. Everywhere you go, Wicked has influences, and they finally achieved this unbelievable feat of bringing it to the silver screen. And all we're asking is that you take it home, you wrap the story up in a nice red ribbon just in time for Christmas and Thanksgiving, and you take care of this story. And if everything goes well, they'll do just that. From one artist and die-hard Wicked lover to another, stay creative, and I'll see you at the movies.